Everyone says May is the perfect time to visit Florence. Weather-wise, I'd say I have to agree, but it's also peak season, which means that Florence is very crowded this month. In this video, we're going to share what it's like to be in Florence this month, what to pack and what to wear, things to do, and how to plan your visit. If you're new here, I'm Alyssa. I've lived in Rome most of my adult life, and I share practical tips based on daily life and local culture. Today, I'm here in Florence with Michaela, who lives in Florence full-time and brings on-the-ground perspective to everything we cover about this city.
Hi, I'm Michaela. I live here in Florence full-time, and I love sharing local knowledge and insider tips across our social media, newsletter, and Florencewise website. May is my favorite month in Florence. The weather is perfect, not too hot and not too cold, and the city really starts to move outside. I love visiting rooftop bars, being able to eat outside again, and just seeing the city in full swing. Unfortunately, everyone else does tend to agree with me, and the city is very packed, so you will see that this month for sure.
It's true, the weather in May in Florence is just beautiful. Actually, the beginning of May is a little bit cool. By the end of May, that's when the weather starts turning absolutely perfect. But you will notice a difference between the beginning of May, when it's a bit cooler than you might expect, and the end of May, when the days are really long and the weather is just beautiful. In the mornings, as you can see, it's a little bit chilly. I have a denim jacket. I also have a light scarf with me, but I have a backpack so I can put stuff in it when it gets warmer in the middle of the day. For the evenings, whether it's the beginning of May or the end of May, you're probably going to want a light jacket or a sweater and maybe a light scarf too. The days are really long and we get very little rain, so this is a great month to do things outside. And as Michaela pointed out, this is precisely why May is one of the busiest months of the year here in Florence. In art cities in Italy like Rome, Florence, Venice, the crowds start by around the middle of April and they don't finish until around mid-October. But in that stretch that we consider high season, May is one of the most perfect months to be here because it's not too hot and you can spend the whole day outside walking around, sightseeing, and not get overheated. And to me, that makes all the difference.
This is the perfect month to visit some of the gardens around Florence. You'll see the roses and the irises at their best. You'll see people eating lunch outside, strolling along the Arno, having aperitivo in the piazzas, and my personal favorite, rooftop bars really start opening up again. In May, I find that I spend a lot of time in the Oltrarno. San Nicolò has some of my favorite bars, shops, and restaurants, and the energy feels a lot more local. And if you're looking to escape some of the crowds here in Florence's historic center, consider going over to the Oltrarno for a quieter experience.
May is one of the busiest months in Florence for its major museums. If you want to visit the must-sees like the Uffizi and the Accademia where Michelangelo's David is, you must book these in advance for May or you'll find that it's sold out. The Uffizi galleries, behind me, cost 25 euros if you purchase your tickets on site for a same-day visit. There's a 4 euro fee to purchase your tickets in advance online, but I assure you this is well worth it because if you don't, you're likely to come across really long lines to purchase your tickets on site, or more likely, you'll find that it's sold out for the day. The Accademia, which is a separate museum which houses Michelangelo's David, is 20 euros on site for same-day purchase, but it's 24 to book in advance, and again, I highly recommend that. Florence's Duomo, its cathedral, is free to visit. You will just probably have to stand in line. However, if you want to climb the dome of the Duomo, it does require a ticket. And again, you really need to book this in advance because that does sell out. These three sites, the Accademia, the Uffizi, and the Dome of the Duomo, all have timed tickets. And for all of them, I recommend booking as far in advance as you can. Some other sites that you should book in advance if you want to visit them in Florence in May include the Vasari Corridor, which is part of the Uffizi galleries, but that will sell out long before the galleries themselves. Also, the Medici chapels. This is another site that can sell out. And while it may be considered a little bit less popular than the Accademia or the Uffizi, for me, the Bargello is one of the most wonderful museums you can visit in Florence, and if you want to visit it in May, I suggest booking it in advance.
Something that makes a real difference is visiting museums midweek, if you can. I can't guarantee it, but usually visiting the Uffizi on a Tuesday morning versus a Saturday afternoon can feel very different, even in May. Of course, it's busy during the week, but on the weekends, we get Florentines sightseeing with their families in the city, and we get lots of weekend visitors from other cities across Europe. As I mentioned earlier, May is the perfect month to visit some of Florence's gardens. The Rose Garden is something that you don't have to book in advance. In fact, it's free. The garden is actually open year-round, but May is when the roses are at their best. But many visitors don't know that there's also an iris garden, which is only open during the month of May. Actually, it opens up at the end of April and goes until around the end of May, but make sure to check their website to see their opening times and dates. Two of Florence's other famous gardens include the Boboli Gardens and the Bardini Gardens. They're near each other and they have an entry fee, but neither of them really need to be booked in advance. Don't overlook restaurants either. Popular restaurants in Florence book out every night of the week, especially the ones the locals love. If there's somewhere specific that you want to eat, try to reserve it before you arrive. Don't worry, there's always somewhere to eat in Florence, but if there's somewhere specific on your list, book it in advance. And as I said before, rooftop bars are one of my favorite parts of May in Florence, but I will say if you don't book these in advance, you won't get a spot. And this goes for any time, day or night, that they're open, so definitely make sure to book those in advance. You'll find our full guide on what to book and when to book it on the Florencewise website. I'll link that in the description below.
Not everything in Florence needs a ticket or a reservation. A lot of the best parts of the city you can just walk up to. Just gonna have a little stroll here along the Lungarno. Arno is the river here in Florence, and Lungarno means along the Arno. Making my way to the Ponte Vecchio, which is of course free to visit. Obviously, the Ponte Vecchio is free and you can walk across it anytime, day or night. It's pretty obvious you don't need to book a bridge. Some other things you really don't need to book in advance in Florence, even in May, include Mercato Centrale, some of my favorite churches like Santa Trinita and Ognissanti. Most churches in Florence are free to enter and you don't have to worry about crowds or lines. One obvious exception is the Duomo, which almost always has a line. It's free to enter, so you can't book in advance, just show up and wait in line. Two churches in Florence that you have to pay to enter are Santa Croce and Santa Maria Novella, but you really don't have to book either of these in advance. You can just walk up and buy tickets on the spot. There are plenty of museums in Florence that you don't have to book in advance just because they're not on everybody's top 10 bucket list. For example, the Museo dell'Opera del Duomo, which is part of the Duomo complex, is an amazing museum and there's almost never a line or a crowd in there. Another one of my favorite museums in Florence is the Monastery of San Marco. There you can see famous works by Beato Angelico and Ghirlandaio. There are also small museums like the house where Michelangelo lived, Dante's house, and the Museum of Galileo.
Another thing you can do to avoid some of the stress with crowds and lines is to get up early. The city feels completely different before 9 a.m.
And you see, if you show up here at the Duomo before 9 a.m., it's really not that crowded. One reason could be the Duomo is not even open yet. During the week, it opens at 10:15. So here at 9 a.m., you can come, get your pictures, enjoy a coffee, and just enjoy this beautiful square. Another site you can probably just show up for and not plan too much in advance is Pitti Palace. Palazzo Pitti was once home of the Medici, and today it's a wonderful museum. There are so many masterpieces in here, including by artists like Caravaggio and Raphael. I get Stendhal syndrome. This is also where the Boboli Gardens are, so your ticket to Palazzo Pitti includes entrance to the Boboli Gardens. Now, if you just want to visit the Boboli Gardens and not spend time here in the museum, you can do so. It's its own ticket. It also has its own entrance. Not far from me, just above and behind me, are Piazzale Michelangelo, and above it, San Miniato. That's where you'll find the Rose Garden and the Iris Garden. And both of those spots are where you're going to want to go to catch a sunset, especially in May when the light is so beautiful.
I also wanted to mention the Cascine Park Market. Every Tuesday morning, there's a big open-air market at Cascine. It's essentially a flea market, so you'll find a mix of everything, including leather, vintage finds, household items, clothing. It's a really great place to find some unique stuff. If you're here on a Tuesday and you're looking for something different to do in Florence, it's definitely worth the walk. And speaking of things to do in Florence in May, there's a lot going on this month.
Here's Here's what's happening in May in Florence, which you should know about because they might affect your trip. In Florence and frankly across Europe, May 1st is International Workers' Day. It's essentially a Labor Day. May 1st, Primo Maggio, is a national holiday. Shops, museums, and some services may run modified hours, so you should check in advance online.
May 1st is when you'll also see the Trofeo Marzocco. It's a traditional Florentine flag throwing competition. It basically consists of Florentines in traditional costumes, drums playing, flag spinning. It's super fun if you happen to catch it.
In early May, the International Handicrafts Exhibition, also known as MIDA, runs at the Fortezza da Basso. But probably the biggest cultural event of the month is the Maggio Musicale Fiorentino. This is one of Europe's oldest and most respected music festivals. The festival runs for nearly 2 weeks in the middle of May. If you're into classical music or opera at all, it's worth checking the schedule and booking tickets.
Another really local event to look out for is the Fiorita commemoration on May 23rd. It marks the execution of Dominican friar Savonarola in 1498. Flowers are laid on the plaque where he was executed in Piazza della Signoria, and petals are thrown from the Ponte Vecchio into the Arno.
Another date to be aware of in early May is the Free Sunday. On the first Sunday of every month, state sites are free across Italy. In Florence, this includes the Uffizi, the Accademia, Pitti Palace, the Boboli Gardens, and a lot of these must-see sites. If you're considering visiting one of these sites on the Free Sunday, you can expect long lines and huge crowds. And this is especially true in May, even though there are crowds on the Free Sunday year-round. One suggestion, if you want to visit one of these must-see sites on the Free Sunday, try coming after lunch. Everyone has the idea that they're going to come early and beat the line, so the lines are longest early in the morning.
For all events happening during your trip, subscribe to our free newsletter. We share updates and planning tips to help you make the most out of your visit. Also, don't forget to follow us on our socials.
Packing for Florence in May is typical of spring packing in general. You're going to want to bring layers. A couple of things to keep in mind. You always want to dress for comfort, and you should consider that May is not quite as hot as you might expect it to be. This means you should consider bringing some cotton pants like jeans and khakis, maybe one pair of shorts or a skirt. Always comfortable shoes that you've already broken in. This should be a pair of closed-toed shoes, and don't forget quality socks as well. You could consider bringing a pair of comfortable walking sandals when you visit Florence in May, but you could also get away with just wearing comfortable closed-toed shoes. I really don't think May is the time for tank tops and sundresses. It's just not quite that hot yet, but you will be comfortable wearing t-shirts. You might want to bring a couple of lightweight, long sleeve shirts, a couple of cardigans, and some cotton scarves. Don't forget that in Italy, the rule to visit any holy site, whether it's a church, a catacomb, a synagogue, or a mosque, is to be modestly dressed. This means no uncovered shoulders or uncovered knees. The good news is that in May, it's not uncomfortable to be properly dressed to visit these sites. You won't be roasting from the heat. You can have a t-shirt on and a skirt that comes to just below your knees, or cotton pants.
And don't forget sunscreen, chapstick, and a hat. As we've said, it's not too hot here in Florence in May, but the sun is stronger than most people expect. May is one of those months where you get the least amount of rainfall. And while I can't guarantee it won't rain while you're here, it's not something you have to worry too much about.
Let's talk about what to eat in Florence in May. As I've talked about in some other videos, in Italy, we eat seasonally and locally. May is that time of year where you're going to stop seeing all those winter fruits and vegetables in the market, like persimmons, broccoli, and kale. Artichokes are kind of at the end of their season. We're also starting to see some summer fruits and vegetables. For example, tomatoes are all over the markets, but we're really not quite in peach and apricot season just yet. The bottom line is, when you're visiting Florence in May and you're going out to the markets or to restaurants, just look for what's in season and what's local. If you're looking for a proper sit-down meal, one of my favorite go-to spots in the center is Trattoria Nella. It's a small local spot that's a little bit hidden, but it's got great food and it always showcases what's in season. For something a little different, try Fuori Porta near San Nicolò. I love the ambiance, really good service, they have excellent crostini, and of course a fantastic wine list.
you want the perfect easy May lunch, get a schiacciata. This is the typical Florentine sandwich that you'll find all over the city. You can pretty much count on any place being good here in Florence, and if it's been overhyped on social media, I would say the long line is usually not worth the wait. My favorite place for a schiacciata is La Fentunta, right here on Via di Neri. And right here on Via di Neri is one of my favorite gelaterias, Gelateria di Neri. Another one of my favorites here in Florence is La Strega Nocciola, and there's two locations, one in the Oltrarno and one near the Duomo. By the way, in May, look for strawberry gelato. Strawberries are in season this month, and it's really delicious. We talked a little bit about rooftops earlier. Definitely make sure to book these in advance, and I'm going to share with you a few of my favorites. La Terrazza on the Arno has incredible views, and the Angel Rooftop Bar has a panoramic of the whole city. On the Florencewise website, we have a full list of all of our favorite rooftop bars. We also have pages for gelato and restaurants. We'll link these in the description below.
Now let's talk about where to stay when you visit Florence in May. Pretty much year-round, I recommend visitors stay in the historic center or at least as close as possible. Many of the must-see sites are kind of close together here in the historic center, and staying here makes it easier to sightsee. On the other hand, May is peak season, which means that accommodation prices are at their peak. They can also get booked out. So if you're looking for more affordable accommodation, or if what you're looking for isn't available, you could look to stay a little bit outside the historic center. Some places to consider for staying in Florence that are not quite here in the historic center include the Oltrarno, which we've talked about a lot on this channel, a little bit past Santa Croce, maybe over by San Marco. These are all areas that give you that local neighborhood vibe, but they're actually not that far from the historic center, so they're an easy walking distance. I would say the main key to booking accommodation in Florence in May is to book as early as possible, because you'll have the most chance to find the most options at the best prices. May is one of the best months for taking a day trip from Florence. The countryside is green and lush, it's not too hot, and a day outside the city gives you a break from all the crowds. The Tuscan countryside, the Chianti wine region, the hilltop towns like San Gimignano, the Val d'Orcia, and one of my favorites, Siena, are all ideal places to visit as a day trip from Florence in May.
If you're looking for something a little different, a visit that's not on a lot of people's radar is Bologna. I love the food in Bologna. It's a completely different cuisine than here in Florence. I know many people come to Florence for shopping, and I agree there are some great stores here, but one of my favorite places to shop is Bologna. There's a lot of variety, and there's some really cool stores. It's only about an hour from Florence on a high-speed train, and it makes for a really low-stress day trip. If you want to see more about what Bologna is like for a day trip, Alyssa did a video about it, and you can watch that video right here.